Hey everyone, it's Terry with CU Bands and Fans, and I'm here with my co-host Zach Whittup, and we are doing our podcast with our special guest Lux. And let me see, I'm just going to read a little description here of Lux that he has on his Facebook. Forged in fire, Ortus Lux is the spawn of classic horror and metal. So it's an absolute going to be an exciting podcast with him. And I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor before we begin, and that would be WKIO 107.9 FM. WKIO sponsors and hosts the Homegrown Show every Sunday evening from 7 to 8 p.m., where they play local music and music that has a history from here in Champaign-Urbana. We appreciate WKIO's support. The host is L.A. Fredrickson and David Leake, and those guys are awesome. Join our Facebook group, which is Homegrown Listeners. Okay. Lux, how are you?
I'm doing well. I couldn't be better. doing quite awesome these days.
It's great to have you. Let's talk about your music first and foremost.
Sure.
And then we're going to get into some new adventure that you got going on that you're getting ready to launch or have launched. But let's talk about your music first. So,
all right, sure.
How long have you been doing music? And your genre is metal, obviously. So, and it's kind of great because we haven't had metal artist on our podcast, so you're our first.
Oh wow, awesome! I'm very honored. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so the metal, it's not exactly something I see as much of in Champaign-Urbana these days. It's still there. There's definitely still metal in Champaign-Urbana. However, this area seems to be a little bit more dominated by other genres, which is actually really cool. It's been interesting to see a little bit of diversity, but also it would appear as though metal seems to be making a little bit of a comeback in our area, and I am really happy to make a contribution to that.
I will say, if I might just inject something here, we have had people come to our page and ask, where are the metal bands? So there's still a fan base, definitely. And I think that the fans of metal have been kind of disappointed that it has kind of little faded out a little bit in Champaign-Urbana, but I'm sure that it's, still raging elsewhere.
Sure.
I know the Canopy Club has so many different types of music. I'm sure that they have some metal bands.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe they're doing some more rock and metal shows. I can't remember specifically who, but my previous band, Brand New Sky, just recently played there a little while ago. So that was really cool to see.
Wait a minute, because when you said that, I just connected you. I'm like,
yep.
That is where we know you from.
Yeah, yep.
Brand New Sky.
It's been some years. I think the last time I sat down and had a chat with you guys was maybe at the Rose Bowl several years ago when we played a show there for Original Artist Night.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I was trying to figure that out too, where I knew you from.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been away for a while. I took my leave from Brand New Sky for probably a year or two. I went back because their drummer left and they needed someone to play for them, and they were kind enough to give me the opportunity to come back and work with them. And after about a year of doing so, it worked out where I just kind of ended up going my own way again. I really wanted to focus on Ortus Lux, and fortunately for them, their drummer, Andrew, who's playing for them now, came back. And so it was really cool to see that they got their lineup back, and it's working out for them. So
yeah, they're pretty great. We're glad to see them, stay the course and still be doing music, and you obviously are thriving in so many different areas.
Sure.
So your band is called Ortus Lux.
Correct.
Yeah. And where have you guys played? Have you played anywhere recently?
So the thing about Ortus Lux is that it started while I was with Brand New Sky. And then after I took my leave the first time from Brand New Sky, I really dug in and kind of focused on that. And it was always my solo project. So I took the time to write a bunch of songs. I wrote everything on every instrument. I recorded everything myself. I produced everything myself. So the earlier recordings, there was a learning curve, obviously, because I was new to audio production. So the things that are out there now, they're a bit dated. They don't sound the greatest. They were the first recordings, and I just wanted to get them out there. And so now moving forward, whenever I went back to Brand New Sky, I wasn't really working as much on Ortus Lux. And part of the reason I left was to really just focus on that, because I just felt that need to broaden my horizons and grow as a musician. And I felt that that was something that I'd really be able to do with Ortus Lux, because I had the creative freedom to play multiple different instruments and just figure things out on my own. And so fast forward now to 2023, I've got a EP coming out on March 20th, and that's going to be everywhere on all the major streaming platforms. And that has been done for probably about 6 months now. I've just been tying up all the loose ends with all of the art and the PR and everything that goes with a release. So the music's been done, but it's something that I completely did all by myself, all over again. Everything that you'll hear on this EP are like, everything is just recorded, mixed, mastered, edited by myself. And although this is my last solo release, in the past, I would say 3 weeks or so, have reached out to many people that I know are very talented musicians. They're wonderful people. Half of these people I've known for at least 20 years apiece. 'Cause they're just friends that I've known since we were children and always made music together. And so now that I've actually got a lineup behind Ortus Lux, we haven't made it to playing any kind of shows, but the plan is to take a series of the songs that are already there, learn them, rehearse them, and then later on this year, we're looking to get out and play some shows and try to bring a little bit more metal back to the Champaign-Urbana area.
That's awesome. Please keep us informed on when this gets launched, and when you guys get a gig and you're playing somewhere, and we'll put it on the event list. And it would be great to have metal on the event list, because seriously, there are a lot of people that are, that's what they love, and they just don't see enough of it around here. So that's fantastic. You're a very patient person.
For sure, metal fans are.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said you must be a very patient person, because for like
I've heard that a time or two.
Yeah, because it seems like you're patient, but you obviously want to get things done right, and so you do process.
Sure. Yeah. So the thing about that is that I started writing those songs, like just putting together demos, probably 2020. So like right as the pandemic was happening, I mean, granted, I didn't stay home through the pandemic. I just continued to work as an essential worker throughout the course of the pandemic. So I was definitely staying busy, but the demos themselves for this Ortus Lux release started coming together around 2020. And the songs themselves, as far as production goes, those were finished about 6 months ago. So this has been a couple of years in the making. And although the EP is only 5 songs long, there were probably another 5 that didn't make it to this release just because I wasn't satisfied with them. So it's been a long time in the making for sure.
Well, good for you for being, not just like rushing and just throwing whatever out there, but really preparing it and being happy with it before you launch it out to the public. What did how long have you been interested in metal and playing metal and doing that? And are you vocal like that? Because metal, am I wrong? I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about metal, so you can just like fill me in here. But
Sure.
Isn't that the like really strong voice and deep,
So about that, the first part of the question, I've been at it since I was probably 12 years old. My parents, my mom, my dad, even my siblings, they've all been incredibly supportive over the years. They know that that has just always been my thing. It's what I do. It's what I'm good at. And so I can recall at like 12 years old picking up my first set of drumsticks. My feet couldn't reach the pedals for the drum kit, but I still tried anyway. And from there, that turned into playing bass, which turned into acoustic, which turned into an electric, and I was playing all of these different things. And so over the years, I was primarily a drummer, hence being a drummer for Brand New Sky. And so I've just always gravitated towards music, and I've loved the complexity of metal since I was a kid. I grew up on that genre, and as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate many other genres, but metal just happens to be the genre that I'm rather proficient in. And so as for the vocal aspect of it, this is the very first band that I've ever done vocals for, and it kind of falls in line with each Ortus Lux release. Everything that I do, the next thing that comes after that, I'm trying to top it. So I took that same kind of idea and applied that to my musicianship as well. And I knew I can play drums. I've been doing that for so long. And I wrote all of these guitar parts and did piano and synth and various different things. But the one thing that I wasn't very great at was vocals. And I did choir all through high school, but it never really took. And I suppose at some point I just decided that I didn't want to be the quiet drummer in the back. And it occurred to me that, well, with my own project, I can take up the forefront and really challenge myself to grow even further as a musician. And so when it comes to doing metal vocals, there's absolutely some technique involved. In fact, there's a lot of technique involved because with such an aggressive vocal style, if you don't train yourself or do any kind of vocal rest, just the same as like, say, somebody with a big voice, like, for example, like a vocalist like Adele, a very big, powerful voice, just the same as you can injure your voice singing like that, you can do the very same doing aggressive metal vocals. And so there's a bit of training and caution that goes into it. And some people, they just naturally can do these kinds of vocals without any kind of trouble. But it's one of those things for me that I've really had to work on. And I never cared much for hearing my own voice recorded. And I think that goes for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get used to. And so now I'm finally getting to that point where every time I know that I've got a recording session, I make it a point to warm up my voice with like classical warm-ups, and then I just rest my voice. There will be days where, and I'm a chatterbox, I'm just constantly going and going, especially if you talk to me about music. So on days where I've got a vocal session, it's really hard for me to not talk at all.
You kind of answered one of my another question I had is how comfortable are you with that? You already mentioned that it was a challenge to you.
Sure.
you know, to get to where you are now. Are you comfortable now with doing the vocals for metal?
So there's the approach that I take where I really try to follow the training that I've undergone over the last couple of years vocally. But there's also days where, and I think everybody's guilty of doing this from time to time, but you'll just hop in your car and you're headed down the road and something you really like comes on. So next thing you know, and for me, it's kind of awkward because if I get caught at a stoplight and I'm just like screaming at the top of my lungs, people tend to stop and stare. But so, I mean, at this point, it really just kind of depends on the day. I think the thing that's probably going to take some work on my part is just getting comfortable with performing. I can perform just fine in the studio, but I've yet to really get into rehearsals with the new lineup of bandmates for Ortus Lux. And obviously, without having played a show, not really sure how that's going to go. But I think that the best thing I can do is just remember my training and not overdo it. So, and it'll take time, just like drumming.
And then, but when you have like an audience and all of that, you know, you're just going to be fire, you know, because you'll just feed off of that. They're feeding off of you, you're feeding off of them. It'll be combustible, you know. So I'm
really excited to play a show with Ortus Lux because where I once was a drummer for a band, it was easy for me to, and this was how I got over my stage fright for years, is I would close my eyes while I was drumming because I memorized the layout of my own kit to the point where I didn't need to see everything. So that's what got me through. But now I honestly, I'm just so excited about this release and really finally just getting to see this whole thing come together. So now I'm really looking forward to standing in a crowded room full of people and screaming at everybody.
Yeah, bringing metal back. Yeah, I think that's great. I do. You know, I'm not a huge metal fan. I worked with a guy that was in a metal band, and he had that voice because he brought up one of his, he goes, "Hey, check me out on YouTube or whatever." So I did, and I was like, is this you? And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "How do you do that?" You know, and it just, it's just, he does. I mean, it's just how he does, that's how metal is.
I get that from time to time as well, where I'll be having a conversation with a complete stranger who is also into metal music, and they hear my normal everyday talking voice, but then they'll go back and listen to the music that I've got out on like Spotify and YouTube, and then they'll message me and they're like, "No way, that's not you. What did you actually play?" I'm like, what can I say? I did everything. Sometimes I kind of surprise myself sometimes. There have been times in recording sessions where I didn't realize I could make a certain noise, and then I do, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's interesting. How can we expand on that and grow and build it into something even cooler?" So
it's kind of exciting to go from like being, you know, on the drums and you know, just like honing in and to your instrument or whatever, and not being up front, to being up front. And then with this release that you have coming, that's all you. So is that kind of terrifying or no?
I honestly would say that the most terrifying thing for me right now would be to not try. Just knowing that I put so much work into it and to just decide to not release it or not go the extra mile to make it bigger and better than the last release, that's more terrifying to me than standing in a room full of people and performing or performing with just bandmates in a rehearsal session.
Okay, and so from here you have a new venture that you're doing? That you have you launched this already, or are you getting ready to launch it? And that's the recording.
No, it's been up for a little while now, and so about that, Nessie Audio is a production business that I've started for audio, and right now, currently, I'm only doing just editing, mixing, mastering, any combination of those. I will do light recording. So, for example, if you're a solo artist, like you play acoustic shows and you need somebody to record your guitar parts and your voice, make them sound good, that's the kind of light recording that I can do. I'm not fully equipped to do like full band sessions just yet, but as far as the audio production aspect of it goes, I do offer editing, mixing, and mastering, and I'm usually really happy to work with just about anybody. And this all spawned from my own creating for Ortus Lux. The more that I do it, excuse me, the more that I do it, the more interested I became in just audio production and everything that goes into it. I love the process. I love making things sound really good, especially if I receive files or record somebody and it just doesn't sound that great right off the bat. It's kind of like a puzzle for my brain, and my brain just loves it. So to take something that's like just a raw recording and turn it into something that just sounds fantastic, it makes me really happy. And so I got to a point where I decided that I shouldn't be the only one to be able to benefit from my skills. Like, I would love to help other people bring those creative dreams to life and help them have something that they can be proud of, that they can push out into the world and share with their family, their friends, their fans.
Okay, so when I was on your side, go ahead.
But yeah, the name of the business is Nessie Audio.
Yeah, it's Nessie. That's Nessie audio, and I'm on your site right now because I just wanted to read this a little bit of what's on the website. For every project that I work on, I strive to be a comprehensive artistic partner, helping turn the musician's raw talent into a finished project that the public will enjoy. I love providing creative suggestions and handling the technical side of editing, mixing, and mastering. I am equally happy taking care of logistics, such as scheduling and determining which service will best suit your project. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Yeah, that's that part. Let me see, into a finished product that the public will enjoy. That popped out at me. That's really,
and so
that's cool.
That was I got to thinking about it, and that's just kind of where I was at with it. I genuinely feel as though if I can help others bring those creative dreams to life, then they will absolutely have more fun and just a better time being able to go out into the world and be like, look at this awesome piece of music that we got put together, and then they can take another step forward in their musical journey. And another deciding factor in putting all of that together was growing up, I didn't have that kind of set of services or have a friend or know anybody that could do those kinds of things for me. And so that's where all of this even started in the first place. I knew that I wanted to do Ortus Lux. I knew that I could make it happen on my own with all of the instruments that I've got. And I knew that if I started teaching myself production, then it was only a matter of time before I would get good enough at it that maybe I could help other people as well. And so that's the primary goal behind Nessie Audio, is to just broaden my horizons, get to know more local talent, no matter what genre they're in, and lend a hand in any way that I can to help them bring those creative dreams to life.
So are you a recording studio or what's recorded?
So right now I'm currently working I'm currently working out of my personal studio, so it's not very big. It's not a huge studio. Most of the work that I do is completely remote, where if somebody has a set of files that they recorded themselves, they can send them to me.
That's what I wanted.
But
That's what I was getting.
Sure. But I mean, as time goes on, obviously that'll bring change. I'm looking to grow and expand, and the more that Nessie Audio grows, the more likely I'll be able to actually have a bigger space and be better equipped to actually take on full jobs to do full records or just a single for a whole band as opposed to like a solo artist or somebody just sending the files to me.
Okay, so let's say we have a solo artist that did an audio and they can send it to you and you'll enhance it and prepare it and get it ready for so you'll engineer the sound so that it's at a different level. Sure. Meaning enhanced and improved and all of that, so it's ready to be heard by the public.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's essentially in a nutshell what I'm able to do. It's an example of what I'm able to do. As I said, I'm equipped to work with people one-on-one, maybe a couple of people at a time, not necessarily a full band, but the process of if somebody has a set of files that make up a whole song and they've got everything that they need completely recorded, but they don't know how to make it sound good. That's essentially where I come in. Not only can I edit these things to ensure that there's not any kind of like run-on nastiness within your sound, like say the end of a guitar part that just ends, it fades out and then has a little bit of weird noise at the end. I can clip that kind of stuff off, run things together, make sure it's all aligned properly. And then the mixing obviously would be blending everything together so that you've got everything panned left, panned right accordingly, and everything just is blended very well together. But then there's the mastering, which is something that really excites me because for so many years I would work in my studio and unfortunately, no matter how many hours of work I would put in on trying to make something sound good, which is very apparent in the early Ortus Lux things, it would sound good on my studio monitors, but the moment that it went out into the world on any other set of speakers that were not my studio monitors, it would fall right on its face. And so I really took a lot of time to work on that and really just focus on making sure that that was something that I was doing well. And that's something that will definitely be very, very apparent on the upcoming Ortus Lux release. A lot of time went into mastering and making sure that happens, but at this point, I would like to think that I'm doing quite all right as far as making sure that when something leaves this studio, it actually sounds good on another set of speakers.
Yeah. That's that. Oh, so would you edit podcasts for podcasts?
Absolutely. I've been interested in potentially getting in touch with a few different people regarding podcasts. The unfortunate thing is I wasn't quite sure where to look, and I had considered adding that as a service to the Nessie Audio site, but I wasn't really sure if it would take. But yeah, podcast editing is absolutely something I'd be interested in doing.
I love doing podcasts. So I hate editing them, but I mean, I do it. Obviously, I have to do it, but I hate editing them because I'm like, I listen to the podcast for like a million times before, I get it up published. And then when I publish it, I listen to it again just to make sure. And so, yeah, I think that I know a lot of podcasters that would be probably a huge step that they would be relieved that somebody else took on and did that. It depends on how turnaround is, I guess, because we do this on a Monday night. I'll publish it tomorrow. So, I mean, that's a fast so that's a fast turnaround for
Yep.
us. But other podcasters, I think, do maybe 3 or 4 podcasts in a row during that whole entire week, and then they have weeks before they
Sure.
publish them. We just do it like the night before, and then I publish them.
I would imagine the turnaround time on editing a podcast. I mean, as far as podcast audio goes, I am equipped to do audio and video. I do the video aspect more for myself, but that's something that I can do. But as far as podcast audio goes, that I would imagine that would be a pretty quick and painless process for the most part. But I'm also guilty of listening to something a million times before it even leaves. So I definitely get how that can be. And then by the end of it, you're just sick of hearing it, but you just want to make sure. So
this and talk about like how you said, hearing your own voice, as singers, whatever. I get sick of hearing my own voice on the podcast. I'm like, Terry, shut up. So
yeah.
But it did help me to go, okay, let your guests speak more than you. I mean, after our first 2 podcasts, I was like, let your guests speak more. Like, that's what it's about. It's about them. So, but
well, like I said, I'll talk all day if you let me.
I may let you edit this one. How would that be?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I can probably get that done pretty quick for you.
All right.
I would love to.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you.
All right. Sure.
This Nessie audio, I think there's a little niche in there in our community that this service could be used. Because I mean, I was reading, you do quite a bit on your website. I'm reading here. And I love the website, by the way.
Thank you.
Do editing and mixing, mastering. And then there's a way to get in touch with you so that you can have some communication with whatever their need is and whatever you can do for them. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was really important to include that at the bottom of the page, because one thing that I personally don't care to see whenever I visit a website is you've got all of these products, you've got everything going on, but the contact us form just kind of
it's lost in
is lacking. And so I wanted to make sure that if somebody had a question about something, not only could they send me their information, but they could also send me a detailed message, and that goes straight to my phone. So the moment that somebody tries to reach out to me about any kind of service, I'm on it. So
yeah,
but yeah, I really wanted to emphasize that.
Yeah, that is fantastic, because I'm sure people have questions without wanting to make a commitment, or feeling like they have to go with this without first having some questions answered and that kind of thing. Like and since you mentioned you did this basically virtually right now, or have done virtually, so the capability of that is there. You could be all over. It doesn't have to be just in this area.
Yeah. And I thought a lot about that. I gave a lot of consideration to the local area, and I absolutely will and would love to help anybody in the local area with these kinds of things. But in working remotely, it seems to open you up to a lot more possibilities, and it also opens you up to making more connections with people in other parts of the country or the world or what have you. So
it's fantastic.
I wanted to emphasize that.
Yeah, we need to get you listed on our Look Before You Book directory page, because I think you're the only so far audio editing business on there. We have studios. We have a studio that take full band. But,
right. Yeah, I've met a couple of engineers that have their own studios that are definitely capable of hosting a full band. But for me, music is obviously, it's something I'm passionate about and it's what I like to do. But I love listening to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks. I listen to music. So essentially, I'm kind of an audiophile. So there's not really a whole lot that I'm not willing to try my hand at when it comes to working with audio.
Have you so this release that you have coming in March, what is it called?
The title of this release is called Keeper of Crows.
Interesting. Do you have a little bit of that you want to play?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I've got several audio files here on my computer. I'm just not
Can't
sure
see
how we
that.
can get those across. Um, so
Or you know what, you can add one onto this podcast when you're doing,
like
if you
later
want
on
to.
in editing.
Yeah, you can add a little soundbite of it or something. That'd be
Sure.
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got a newer song that I plan to release as a single from this, and it's actually a vocal collaboration that I did with a old friend of mine. He and I stayed in touch over the years, even though the band project that we were working on at the time didn't work out. And I had a song, it was almost going to get scrapped. I just wasn't really into it. And then I just kept going for it and just working on it and working on it. And I sent it to him and I was like, what do you think? Do you maybe want to try to do something vocally and send it back to me? And he sent something really awesome back, and that just kind of lit a fire. And so we both built on that, and it just grew from there. And so it ended up being something that I'm actually particularly happy with. I'm really proud of the way it turned out. So I think we're gonna be bold and push it out there as the single of this release.
That's great. So this is pretty exciting. In February, March is not that far off, but you've been waiting quite a while to get this,
Oh
to
yeah.
get this published and going. So we really look forward to that, and I look forward to like talking more about you on our page. And does
Sure.
Ortus Lux, the band, does it have a Facebook page?
Yeah, so Ortus Lux is on Facebook and Instagram, and they're not the most active at this time. They will become a little bit more active leading on up to the release. I wanted to sit down and have a chat with you guys first, and then this podcast, at least on the Ortus Lux side of things, was going to kind of serve as the kickoff leading on up to the release. And so it starts here talking with you guys, and then moving forward, there's going to be a bit more activity on Facebook and Instagram so that we've got engagement with fans and people are seeing what we're doing. But also, I'm currently working on trying to do interviews with a couple of other media outlets as well. I submitted a Q&A to Activator magazine, so I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to when that comes out.
perfect. We love Activator magazine. Yeah.
Yeah, so far, the few encounters that I've had with the people that run the page, I mean, it was just reaching out via Messenger, but they've been nothing less than kind and awesome. They've been incredibly helpful, so I'm really happy to work with those guys.
Yeah, they're great. I love what they do, and I love how they do it. It's
Yeah,
just, it's kind of more underground, some underground music and things like it's just it's so I am going to I'm with Lux. Let's give a shout out to Activator magazine. Check them out because they're really pretty amazing group of people that they put this magazine out is it month or week?
I think it's monthly.
Yeah, monthly. And
Uh,
and
I,
we've sponsored them. They've done a logo for us. They'll do fantastic ads, people. Like if you need an ad, a published ad, they'll put you on there. They'll put you in their magazine. It's going to cost you a few bucks, but it's worth it. Well worth it.
yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that they seem to distribute their magazine to a lot of different places. I had no clue. I thought it was digital, and then I found out that they'll do
Oh no,
physical copies. It's everywhere.
That's what I love
So,
so much about them is it's a tangible magazine. Because they distribute some of it around Champaign-Urbana and then just around just everywhere. Yeah, so that's
sure.
that will be a great interview. Let us know when that
Yeah, and
happens.
I think it's scheduled for sometime in February. I questions and I'd have to don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at my messages, but yeah, I think it's sometime in February, and I'm really looking forward to it being a physical copy because I'm a comic book kid. I still to this day go out and buy comic books all the time, and so just knowing that I can stop by this local venue and pick up a couple copies, I might who knows? I might put one in the vault, keep one for myself. It's hard to say, but still,
I've still got one. I've still got one right here, right next to my desk. That from the one that
nice.
went on. Yeah, because I love the tangible thing, like and that I'm that way with music too. I'd rather have tangible than digital, but I'll take digital because that's the way it comes a lot of times. But speaking of which, so on this release, will you guys have a CD or will it just be digital?
I'm so glad you asked. I've actually got a copy right here.
Yes. Oh, I love that cover.
Um, so here's the actual disc itself. Let's see if we can get that in there a little better.
Yeah, it's coming
Uh,
in clear.
that's 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 the
I took
disc
a look at
itself,
your
and
I took a look at your Facebook page, and that cover is on your Facebook page.
Yeah, the cover to your.
yeah,
Oh, no.
it's also got a back cover to it. But yeah, so I very sneakily have kind of just been inserting this album cover where applicable, and
I see what
most
you're doing.
people that just pass through, yeah, most people that just pass through, they're probably like, oh, just a new cover photo, but secretly that's been the album cover the whole time.
Yeah,
So
that's nice artwork on that. Um,
not only are we doing the actual physical copy of the CD, but we actually the it's not been officially announced, but I might as well spill the beans now. But we do finally have a big cartel page, and we're doing a hoodie, a t-shirt, vinyl stickers.
Arch.
Those are limited, but the physical copy of the album, and then actually I think I've got one right behind me. Got a 11 by 17 print for, oh, let's get that guy out of there.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So
You have no
that's
idea even though I'm not like a metal fan or anything, but the way that you're presenting this and the way that you're making some tangible things like with the poster and all that, you have no idea how much I love that. Like
yeah,
that's
so the thing about that, I got to a point where I just decided that when you're at a show, at least me personally, I love stopping by merch booths. I love supporting the artists that I'm into, whether they're local or regional or national. I love visiting merch booths, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because I'm supporting the bands, but I could also end up spending way too much money because I love doing that stuff. But it occurred to me that maybe it was time to start doing that for Ortus Lux as well. And a huge part of the reason why this whole release has taken so long to actually come to fruition is because every single piece of merch I had to take the time to design myself and get in touch with manufacturers and producers and what have you. And then samples would come in and I'd have to approve the samples or be like, this doesn't work. So it took a long time, but I'm really happy that we finally have some sort of merchandise available as well for those that hear the music but are like, man, I'd really love to actually just have a physical copy for my record collection.
yes. And and even just like the posters or I mean, I don't know. I love the way you're doing this. I think it's very strategic. I think it's very well thought out, and I think you're considering, the fans that want that tangible as well as the fans who can download it online. So you're thinking on all levels, which is fantastic. And you seem to be fairly young. I don't know how old you are, but you seem to be fairly young, and that's a good thing. I mean, you're bringing in more young people and young listeners, to especially when you start doing shows, to live music. And
sure. Yeah, at this point, I look a little bit younger than I am. I'm not getting up there in age by any means, but I think it's the third shift life. It's keeping me nice and young. But as far as connecting with a younger audience, that's something that I really considered in all of this. It's really important to me because I remember what it was like to and pick up music and the influences I had and the support from the older generations in just my day-to-day life, my family, things like that. So it's been really neat to watch that over the years and kind of understand by means of seeing younger generations pick up your music. And there was like a moment where I was like, aha, I get it now. Like just the feeling of seeing younger generations get really into music and be passionate about it and be really inspired. That's incredibly inspiring to me. And I have to imagine that whenever I was a kid and my parents were like, because dad always played some sort of instrument. And so to have one of the little ones pick up, whether it be a drumstick or a guitar or a bass or something, that feeling probably was there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think it's really important to get the younger generations to maintain interest in music because music is a really important part of the world. And there's a lot of stuff out there. There's something for everyone. Heck, even what I do, it's not for everyone, but I remember being a kid and connecting with music in a way that just kind of changed me forever. So I hope that in doing what I do, that can help influence a younger generation to either pick up music or just be really passionate about some of music.
Well, thank you for that, because that's what we want to see more of, and and I think that you're doing that. I think you're intentionally doing that, and it's so great to talk to somebody that is doing that. So just everything you're doing is amazing and well thought out, and we truly look forward to this podcast publishing, and I hope we get a lot of people to listen to what you had to say. My last question to you is, and we'll do a wrap here, is where do you want to be in 5 years?
On a tour bus. Ideally, I would love to be a touring musician. That's what I want to be my career for sure. I think best case scenario, even if it's just national, like I would be happy with that, but I would love to see Ortus Lux grow to a point of at least touring nationally. I would even accept regionally, but when it comes to music and Ortus Lux, I've got kind of a go big or go home kind of attitude towards it. And so I'm always trying to push myself. And I would love if in 5 years, I've myself and the band to a point of being able to travel the country, playing shows night after night. I would even go to other countries and play shows night after night. But that is my dream job.
You're not, so. Well, I can see that being possible for you. Honestly, I can. I can, and I hope it is. I hope that we see that, and headlining and all of this. It's completely possible.
Sure.
So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. I've absolutely loved it. Loved talking with you. We will have links, everyone, to all of all of the Facebook pages, the band page, and the amazing website for Nessie Audio. So until then, we'll see you all next week. Have a good night.
Light the bonfire, tie up the limbs and burn the You've got to suffer too. Resurgence on her fire. Meshing train.